Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I wore a very serious shirt today to show you that I mean business. We're going to be talking about how to study, how you're going to turn into a first-class student. If you're in your final year, please leave this video. There's nothing you can do. But if you still have time, if you still have time to take your cgpa up, or you just want to improve, basically, you need to watch this video. And what are my qualifications? I went from being a complete failure, like being a complete airhead, like, you know what they say, beauty without brains, like, oh, baddie in the class that doesn't know anything. That was me. But upon coming to my private uni, I decided that I was going to turn my life around and I was going to do well. And you might say, oh, of course, you went to a private uni, it's easier. Trust me, there are still people in my school that their carryovers, yeah, are more than the courses they're offering, are supposed to be offering at the moment. So I will say yes, I'm not going to lie, going to a private uni helped. But if you do not want to be successful at something, no matter the environments you're placed in, you can get there, but what will make you stay there is hard work, it's your brain, because nobody is helping you out in private uni, whether you think so or not. The point I didn't write, and which is the most important point, is that there is no essence in this video. If you have not decided on your own that you want to turn your life around, you want to turn your grades upside down, there's no need for you to watch this video. There's nothing I'm going to tell you that will make you put in the work. So you have to have like that personal conviction. You must have had that conversation with yourself and told yourself that you want to be the best that you can be. Like, you don't want to be failing anymore. There is so much academic validation from me. It's like crack. That's what keeps me going. Not because this is the degree of my choice. No, I'm just obsessed with the academic validation, okay? And that feeling is a whole different type of high. So you must have had that pep talk with yourself, and you want to put in the work. All I'm going to do is give you a few tips. It's not going to do anything for you if you don't want to help yourself. I'm not going to do it for you. Just, that's point number one. I want to start with the second most important point, which is reading to understand. Now, before you leave the video, I know you've heard this before, but it is a game changer. Do you know that in my other school, I was failing, but I was studying a lot more than I am studying in this school? And the difference, I'm not even going to lie, the major difference is that I'm reading now to understand. Then I was reading to cram. Like, you could spend hours, you're looking at your book, you're not assimilating anything. Or you will read it, and then you can't even answer a question on it later because you're reading to cram, you're reading to pass. You may think your degree is not useful, but trust me, reading to understand makes it stick. There's so many things you could ask me from the past and I'm going to answer you because I understand it. I understood it when I read it. I didn't cram it. It's in my brain forever. Like, there's so many things you can ask me now. And even if I won't get it to a T, I will have an idea and I'll be able to explain to some extent because I don't read to cram anymore. Let me use different courses to give you examples. When I was doing biochem metab, right? I'm someone that I know every single enzyme in every single pathway. Like, I don't know it very well now, but back then it was in my brain. It's still in my brain to some extent. And you're not cramming. Like, oh, how do you cram all these? Like, how do you know, like, that this enzyme is here? Like, just very funny long enzyme names. Let's say you're studying, right? You see an enzyme. The enzyme is a kinase. You're not just cramming it that, oh, the enzyme in step 2 is a kinase. No. I know the enzyme in step 2 is a kinase because step 2 is a phosphorylation reaction. Now, because I understand that is a phosphorylation reaction, I also understand that once you see phosphorylation, you see a kinase. So I'm not just cramming it like, oh, step 2 is a kinase that's here. You need to know why. That's how you understand. I don't read anything because I'm taking it on the surface level. I need to understand why they said this is this. I need to understand why this is here, why this is acting in this particular step. I don't know if that makes sense. Still on biochem, your teacher could say, what does excess ammonium in the blood lead to, or excess ammonia lead to? And you say, oh, it leads to deficiency in energy outputs from the TCA. That's, you just crammed it like that, but you don't know why. Me now that's studying, I know that is because excess ammonia leads to, the TCA will have to release, will not have enough alpha ketoglutarate, because alpha ketoglutarate is what will come and mop up the excess ammonia in the blood. And if alpha ketoglutarate is leaving, instead of doing what it's supposed to do in the TCA, there is no way the TCA will give the amount of energy, the output of energy it's supposed to give. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but I'm not just reading to know the answer to something. I'm not just reading because I want to cram it. Like, this is what they said, so this is what it is. If you understand it, there is no question that will come to you, because your teachers can shape any question anyhow. They can ask you something that's not direct, but when you understand something, you will know how to answer even the most indirect of answers. Because when you're reading just to cram or just to pass, You're expecting one question in one kind of way. Like, you can only answer this question if it is asked in a straightforward way, how they asked it in your notes. But if they change it for you and give you like something that's not straightforward, because you didn't understand it, you're not going to be able to answer it. And I need you guys to understand that very well. Moving on, I can't dwell on this point forever, but we're moving on. I strongly believe that anybody can have a photographic memory. You just need to assist yourself. I never thought I had a photographic memory. Like, I can't explain to you guys how lethargic and unwell like I was in my other school. Like, I was just chilling. But now that I'm here, people always say, oh, you have a photographic memory, and I think I have it to some extent. I think everybody has it to some extent. I'm not saying like you're one of those top, you're not micros or anything. I realized that another way that I also pass is by drawing stuff, like drawing diagrams, making bullet points and things that are easy for me to picture in the exam hall. I don't know if this sounds crazy. If you watch my vlogs where I study a lot, you see that I use a lot of sticky notes. Sticky notes, they're colorful, they're so important. Once I draw a diagram, I'm able to draw it for the rest of my life. Like, if you see a diagram in your notes, don't cram it. Always attempt a diagram, because I answer all my questions with diagrams, or at least 80% of all my questions with diagrams. It helps so much. Like, I don't want anybody to ever come and say that, you know, there was an unfair kind of marking, because if you see my script, you will know why I deserve the score. That I make sure to draw it, that once the diagram exists for that question, it's going to be in my script. I draw on my sticky pads a lot because it's so easy. Once I look at this, once I go to the hall, even if I don't remember exactly, I always somehow am able to recall a picture of my sticky notes to some extent, not to a T, but to some extent. I promise you it helps. Like, writing down stuff and drawing, taking notes especially, you know, if you see me, I'm always writing, and people think I'm always writing exactly what's in the notes, but trust me, as I'm writing something, whether I like it or not, whether I'm even paying attention to what I'm writing or not, it's sticking to my brain small, and I'm able to recall it. I can't just stay and be reading a note and just be like scrolling, reading. I have to write it. I have to write exactly what I'm saying in another note. I hope that makes sense. So get you a sticky. I don't use highlighter. Highlighter is just ruin your notes. So get you a nice sticky pad, and every time, you know, even if it's something important, something you know that you forget easily, just write it on the sticky note and stick it, like paste it in the corner of your book. And trust me, it might not make so much of a difference, but it does something. Point 3, we're talking about taking notes. You need to write stuff according to your understanding. If some people cannot read my notes are written, some of them are written in ways that only I know, or I'm able to interpret what I wrote. I'm not just copying my teacher's slides, I'm not just copying the lecturer's slides, no. I'm writing it in words that I will understand. Or if he writes a sentence that's vague to me, after I write that sentence, I will Google it, understand it, and then come and I will write, he said this person does this, how? And then I will proceed with my own explanation and my own understanding of that line that he wrote in the slide that wasn't clear to me. So that even if somebody else wants to read it, they'll be able to understand better what the man meant. If you see my notes, a lot of things are written in ways that only I can understand, or just better explanation of what the lecturer was trying to say. So write stuff in you don't have to copy everything your teacher says word for word, because like I said, you're not studying to cram, you're not studying to copy, you're studying to understand. And lecturers will mark it as long as you know what you're saying, whether it's not in the way they wrote it, as long as it makes sense, they will give you a mark. Number 4, I also encourage you to use multiple sources for studying. My lecturers have the best slides ever. But when I came newly, I think I only used to use their slides, but the more I continued using, the more I realized, like, oh, I actually want to know more. I don't just want to know what is in their slide, because a lot of them can ask you stuff that are not even in their notes. So if I'm reading, I use YouTube a lot. I use YouTube to study. I don't use any fancy textbook. I do online a lot. So after I finish watching let's say a metab of carbohydrate or glycolysis or something, I'll go to YouTube and I will still watch it again from different people's channels, just so that, you know, the more I watch it, the more it makes sense to me, and I'll come and write it in my notes again. Use different stuff. Don't be afraid to expand. Don't stick to only what your lecturer has given you, because you don't know which lecturer will come and ask you to explain something that he wrote in one small detail in his notes and then give you a whole question on it. You never know. So make sure that you actually want to know beyond what's in your slide on the same topic, but more than just the simple thing that they've given you in your slide. Sometimes it helps, but there's no loss in doing that. That's what I think. Number 5, this one, I don't understand how people don't do this. Look up everything you don't know. Like, how can you be studying and your teacher or your lecturer will use a big word or grammar or something you don't know and you just skip past it? I'm so grateful, like, for my iPad, like, just use your laptop. Once you see a word you don't know, just highlight it and just search, look up on the web. It's so easy. It makes everything, because it's not everything you will know, and it will help you understand what you're reading better. Anywhere you see a word you don't know, or you see an abbreviation, or you see even something like phosphate, how they write PI, like, if you see something, make sure you look it up. It will not take anything from you, it will only add to you. So make sure you're looking up every single thing that you do, no matter how small or irrelevant you think it is. It will make you understand the whole notes a lot better. Let's talk about distractions. I don't believe in I study with music. I don't believe in I study with people talking around me. No, you cannot lie to yourself. You cannot. Me, I can't listen with music. I'm not going to be reading unless I'm reading something I've read before, something that's not new to me. I can actually study with music around me, but I'm not going to say, well, I want to have a serious session now, let me listen to some Rihanna. Like, let's be so for real right now. Or you tell your friends, oh, they can just around you, you focus. Like, let's be so honest, go to somewhere that's quiet, or somewhere that's not too, just somewhere that you know is conducive for you, because what's conducive for you might not be conducive for me. I used to use a laptop before, but I use my iPad now, which is so great, because my iPad is only for school and like content creation, right? So I keep my phone somewhere that I can't reach it. Sometimes I'm guilty of using my phone when I'm studying, and it makes me feel so bad. But trust me, just study on a device that is not your phone. It will help you so much. And you're like, oh, sometimes you need to watch something or look up something. I'll just turn up my hotspot on my phone, connect my iPad to it, and anything I want to look up or watch, I will do it on my iPad. We're going 30-45 minutes without your phone, and then maybe 10 minutes with your phone. Like, those things make, or trust me, you might think, oh, you're different, you don't get distracted. Just try and study without those things that you think are not distractions, and watch the difference. Now this is a topic that I can't stop talking about. Reading from the first day. People see me during exam and tests and they think I'm the most unserious person ever. Like, oh, you don't even study. They'll be thinking everything is passion. Like, you don't even study that much. Like, she doesn't. Like, I worked hard since so that I can chill now. Do you understand? Sometimes I'm guilty of not reading hard enough in the beginning, and I pay for it during my exams or during my test. But no, I like from the once you get one note, do not let the next. I'm not saying you should study like immediately, but what you can do for yourself to make things easier, right? Let's say you have a physiology class or an anatomy class. Just make sure that before the next anatomy class, you have caught up and you are very fluent in whatever was taught in the last one. You must not read that day, but just make sure that at the end of the week, everything that you have done that week is clear. You're not coming into a new week without knowing what you learned last week. I don't believe in that at all. Which is bringing me to my next point. Is this point number 6 or 7? I don't know. But make sure that your test and exam studying time is not the first time you are seeing something newly. If you're opening your notes on vitamins for the first time because you're studying for a test or an exam, that is absolutely wrong. Make sure that studying for tests and preparing for exams is like revision for you. Because that's why I'm always so during test and exam, like, I'm the most lethargic person. And it's not because I'm proud. I don't even have the ginger sometimes to open my book, because I know that I've opened this thing since, like, and I've looked at it again. So make sure that during test or exam, it's like my 3rd or 4th time reading that topic. Nothing is new, and it will make it stick. People say, oh, some people are different, you might need a whole how many weeks to study. Me, one day before exam and I'm good. Yes, you might be good, but it is obviously better to study a long time before you actually have the test. Because I had this argument with somebody that's naturally very smart. You know, people that don't need stress, that don't need any kind of time to read, and they will still top the class. And it was like, he needs like 2 days, 1 day before the exam, and he will study everything. My thing is, I'm not saying it will not work, but I'm saying it will work so much better if you started reading before. Like, if you're passing it like this so effortlessly and you're only studying in 2 days, 1 day, like, imagine how unstoppable you would be if you started at the beginning of the semester. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to say that it's not possible for you to cram it all or learn it all in such a short time, because people are different, but obviously it is better. Like, it just makes so much sense that you do it earlier. Even if you're doing well now already, without starting from the semester, you will do so much better. Like, you can only improve. There's always room for improvement, no matter how smart you think you are. I don't think this point is going to shock anybody, but study groups are not necessary. Like, you don't need to study with, you're just deceiving yourself. I know some people that they'll say, oh, I've not studied today because you didn't call me to study now. You guys did not go to study, so I didn't go to. You're just making excuses. You're just making excuses for yourself. You can study perfectly fine by yourself. And it doesn't mean that if you have a problem, you cannot ask somebody. That's different. But you don't need to wait for some people to start reading, or you're saying, oh, she has not started reading biochem, so I'm waiting for her to start reading biochem so we can read together. No. In fact, sometimes study groups can be such a distraction because you guys will start gisting. Like, you guys will start gist. And this might be ironic because I read alone, I read with my friends, and it's nice, but like, there isn't really much of a difference. If anything, reading alone is better for the kind of person that I am. Now, you might be someone that needs to study with study groups, but I'm just trying to say, don't let it hold you back from studying. Don't say you're waiting for someone to be free before you can study. Study groups are okay, but is it necessary? I don't think so. Now, something that I personally love is asking myself random things. Like, I always go back to Metab because have you done Metab before? Like, Metab is so, I think I had a 93 in my Metab. Like, I could draw any cycle, any pathway that we had done, because how I did Metab especially was, I would just be taking a shower. I would stop myself. What's the enzyme in step 4 of gluconeogenesis? And I would just freeze. I would pause my shower until I remember, or I must go and look at it. I could just be eating. I'm like, oh, what's the enzyme in step 2 of the pentose phosphate pathway? If you cannot at random times recall something you've read, you don't know it. That's just what I'm going to be so honest. If you can't stop yourself maybe you're playing a game, and ask yourself something, what is the nerve supply to so muscle? Just ask yourself like, trust me, you get to a point where you can wake up from sleep and ask yourself a question and you'll be able to answer it. Like, that's the point I want you to get to. Someone can stop you anywhere, anything you're doing. You're climbing up the stairs, someone just might ask you a random question from a random topic that you've read. Like, I want you to be doing that for yourself until you get the hang of something. Does it sound like a lot of pressure? I don't think so. Once you get to that, like, the kind of smile you'll be smiling after you answer all those random questions that you're asking yourself, it's worth everything. Something that really helps me, this is why I don't know how to explain this when people ask me, but I use mnemonics and abbreviations a lot. They don't even have to make sense. Like, just anything that can help you understand something. I can't tell you how many things I applied this to in every single course. Like, anywhere you know you're going to remember something, remember it. I used to get so confused in my carpal bones, like, because I used to miscalculate, like, where is pisiform coming from. I know pisiform must be on this side because P for pisiform, P for pinky. I don't know if that makes sense. So there's just so many different things that you can use to help you remember anything. And I don't want you to take it for granted. If there's any way, any abbreviation, it mustn't make sense to anybody, as long as it makes sense to you. You use something from your childhood, your experience, your relationship, to make you remember why something happens the way this is, or why this supplies this, or why this operates that. Do it. Like, you don't owe anybody any kind of explanation except yourself. And my final point, I always say, do not compromise your sleep. One thing about me, I'm going to sleep. It's even last semester, I really got some of my results from last semester. I had my GP dropped by 0.1, and I was so sad because I didn't follow a lot of these rules, and I didn't even want to make this video because I felt like such a disappointment. I felt like this is not my place to talk because I didn't even follow some of these rules. I compromised my sleep a lot last semester. I was studying late into the night. Me before had this 10 p.m. I'm gone. I'm snoozing. There was one girl that was always trying to be my friend when I first came here, and she was like, oh, we wrote an exam that day. And she was like, what time did you sleep last night? And I was like, I think 10 or 11. She was like, you even slept? On me, I stayed up till like 4 a.m. And I was like, okay. And the results will tell you like that it doesn't matter, because it truly doesn't matter. So do not compromise your sleep. Your brain is not going to be able to retain, assimilate, or understand if you're not sleeping well. Don't go to exam hall and start snoozing. That you've defeated the whole purpose of why you stayed awake. So that's why I'm going to end this video. I don't have a lot of long talk. Let me know if this helped you in any way. I also try to do a part 2 if I remember anything else, or if I develop any new habits that are helping me. So make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you leave a comment if you don't want to, but you must. And yeah, spread the good news. I wish you guys success in whatever you're using these tips for. Bye.